If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hi, I'm Quentin.
Hi, I'm Brianna. And this is Resilient Love,
a podcast about
love, tips on life, and how to level up in your business. Let's get started.
Okay, and we're back to our second episode of Resilient Love. Man, let's talk about resilient love. Love is so patient and kind sometimes.
Isn't it though?
The reason I'm saying that and she's being funny is because she stopped me a second ago. But love surpassed all.
All right, amen for the word of good.
So today we are going to be talking about honeymoon tips. Honeymoon tips.
Let's start off with, how did our honeymoon go?
Our honeymoon was good. We had a few hiccups.
Yeah.
But so let's start from the jump. Our original plans for our honeymoon we were actually condensing it. Of course, we want to do like everybody else and go to Jamaica, Bahamas, Cancun, somewhere. But financially, it would not be wise.
Right.
And honestly, and this is like slightly a side note, but if we could do it all over again, we would have did a simple wedding and a big honeymoon. So, with that being said, I'll jump into our original plans were to we were going to stay in Arlington, Virginia, and we were going to do some tourism in Washington, D.C. We were going to go to the new African American History Museum, along with the other few federal buildings, historical building sites.
About the Lincoln Memorial.
The new MLK Center in Washington D.C. So quite a few sites.
Yeah.
And I've been to D.C. several times, and I know Brianna's been to D.C. some, but we've never actually had technically afforded a whole lot of time of just experiencing DC without time frames and time limits.
Just kind of having that leisure opportunity to just enjoy the atmosphere, right? That's the whole point of a honeymoon, is to be with your honey and sit on the moon.
So, and in the midst of that, so let's talk about when the honey runs out of the honeymoon.
Come on now, talk about it.
When you're planning.
Yep.
So, the bee that drove the honey out of our honeymoon was adverse weather.
Inclement weather.
Yeah,
basically.
It was was it a tornado or flood? It's just
a warning, and it was just a lot of rain that day, weekend.
We probably we may have been okay, but
yeah.
And then we actually saw when we were at our actual honeymoon location, we were looking at DC, and we were looking at a location that was completely underwater.
Okay.
So, in the midst of that, don't take chances when there is adverse weather.
Yeah, and to add to that point, it was funny how he said what the hoodie the bee that took the hoodie out of the honeycomb, but nonetheless, it's such a blessing because God spared us. You know, it wasn't necessarily DC that was experiencing that flooding, but it was an area close to DC, which would have put us in a bind. And so when I think about that situation now, it's like God really spared us some trouble. But I'm gonna let him keep going. I just had to say that because it was like we wanted to go to DC so bad, but it's like everything else worked out for us. But yeah,
Some things that sometimes you will find yourself digging a deeper hole for yourself when you keep trying to push something that God is trying to push you away from.
Come on.
So, um, you know, when you have discernment and just, sometimes you just gotta say, all right, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah.
It's better to just let it go sometimes. It's gonna be all right. You married now. It ain't. It's really not that deep.
You don't even have to really go right now. I want to also put that disclaimer out there before we get into some other things on this topic. A lot of times, like he said, you get caught up on this idea that, okay, I was married on July 6th. I need to have my honeymoon the same weekend of my wedding. But it's like older people that have spoken to our lives have said, well, I didn't have a honeymoon, but new school, us as millennials, we look at it like, okay, the honeymoon is when you go out of town, out of country. But some older folks, their honeymoon was literally going back to work. Like their honeymoon. So the structure of a honeymoon looks different for each person, which goes back to our first episode. We know and we understand that every person's experience is going to be different, from the wedding to the reception to the honeymoon to the life as a married couple. It's going to look different. But you want to go into the situation with a clear mindset, as he said, and also go into it knowing that it is okay because you're married now. So let's get into
having a alternative plan or plans. So, of course, when we did DC, we did not do DC.
Yeah.
The B kind of struck us, so we kind of lost that. We made plans to go to Raleigh.
We ended up with the idea of going to Raleigh, North Carolina.
To a comedy show, right?
To a comedy show. To see Kev on stage. If any of you listening love Kev on stage, like,
Brianna does. Like, she just...
Let him know. I was trying to go see him.
Please somebody bless Brianna with tickets to Kev on stage so I can quit hearing it. I mean, just be a complete blessing. I will not mind. I have not stopped hearing about Kev on stage. So Kev on stage, if somebody know him, if you out there, if you listening, Kev,
what's up,
please,
hook the bakers up. Hook both of us up, not just me.
Yeah, but if you can't get me, please get her. If anybody know Kev on stage, tell him we need some immediate tickets because he have an immediate fan that need to see him on stage.
Oh my goodness.
So, moving right along.
So guess what, y'all? The reason why he's emphasizing that is because we did not get to see Kevin on stage because his show was sold out.
So, this is why you gotta have alternative plans.
Yes.
So, and I know it's like, sometimes you can never have enough alternative plans. It don't matter.
It doesn't matter if you have A through Z.
Yeah, it's just...
Life happens.
Yeah. This is truly a time I can kind of say, like, I wonder how Obama and how Barack and Michelle felt during their time at the White House, because it's like you can have every alternative, every motive, every good motive, and every bad thing happen.
Right, now that's good right there. Did y'all catch that?
So, what do you do when every alternative you turn to does not work out? It's real simple. It flows right into our next thing that we really want to zone in on is remaining positive.
Yep.
And Brianna probably gets on me a lot because I I'm blank face. When things are going on, I'm primarily the blank face person that is just thinking of the execution plan, not talking, not saying nothing, and then ultimately, boom, let's do this.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you can remain positive, and your positive won't look like mine, won't look like Brianna, won't look like ours, but your remaining positive is your remaining positive.
Yeah.
That's the way you do it.
I know a couple personally that they were married September 22nd or 21st, whatever that third Saturday was in September, but nonetheless, they actually went straight back to work. They didn't do a special outing. Well, they went to Raleigh like we did,
Right.
but they didn't do what they really planned to do because both of them are in the education field. And so to spare themselves of some hard lessons and a whole bunch of work during the school year, they are waiting until spring break, which for most schools is in April 2020, to do their honeymoon. So sometimes just because of work, just because of timing, it's more feasible and functional for the family that you wait it out so that you can really have the full experience. Like, we thank God for what we got. Don't get us wrong with this on this podcast. Like, we appreciate everything from the wedding to the reception to the honeymoon. Like, we appreciate it, but we're just saying, because of our time, like, we didn't even tell you all what we did. We got married in 4 months. Like, think about that. 4 months. We planned a wedding, a reception, and a honeymoon in 4 months. Like, wow, God is good because it really looked good.
And let
Oh
me
my goodness.
let me zone in on something about 4 months, because maybe this is really for anybody, but definitely millennials, because sometimes we are not as established as older couples.
Right. Yeah.
So with that being said, it is greater to get your finances in order, and I say this to grooms or husbands to be, it is more wise to, as a man and as the head of your household, to ensure that there's a roof over your head versus a temporary honeymoon.
Right.
So that is the responsibility of getting married. Sometimes you have to sacrifice, but along with that sacrifice, you still must remain positive in order to be blessed with greater.
Yeah.
So
grateful for the now.
Right.
And you can have greater later.
Mm-hmm.
Greater later.
And don't get too many people get caught up in traditional thinking.
Yeah.
It's
so true.
It's like too many, and we sometimes even find ourselves. I think everybody does. Sometimes we find ourselves caught up in the trend.
Yes, trending topics.
But if it's not trending for you, you are the you are the couple that got to go to bed at night, and it be more trending that you had a bed to lay in versus a 3-night stay away and no bed to come back to.
Right.
So you just got to make wise decisions and remain positive in your decision making, and be confident in your decision.
Oh yes, most definitely, and be supportive of the decision, wives and wives to be, trusting that your husband or husband to be has the best interest of the household. Again, I'm definitely an advocate and a supporter of my husband. I know that he's going to lead us and has led us and will lead us in the things of God and things that are done decently and in order. And so, when the decision was made to keep it more low key but still get a nice little getaway, I was all game for it because I knew, because I'm an educator as well, I knew that we will still have plenty of opportunities throughout our lifetime. Let me say that very clear, our lifetime, to experience the Bahamas, Jamaica, Cancun, Paris, so on and so forth. So I did not allow, like he said, a 3-day weekend effect forever. Give us that grace to be able to sustain our marriage past the status quo. That we can love each other past those moments where they call it the itch. We can love ourselves past those moments of despair. We can love ourselves past those issues and truly show Christ's love in our marriage.
One thing I want to say on that is that that the assignment is bigger than you. The assignment is bigger than the issues, the things that you may face in the marriage. And even though we only been married a short period of time, that's where faith plays a part of it. Because I don't know, I just truly believe the assignment is way bigger than us. And with just merely my existence here talking right now, I know there's an assignment that I have to do before I transition. So, my point is begin to look at everything with longevity.
Yeah.
Versus just looking at it for what it really is at that moment. Look at the purpose behind it. So that's all I had to say on that.
Yeah. So.
Not to get too deep.
Well, no, we have to always pushing the kingdom, no matter what.
Bree says I get deep sometimes, so
Well, let's see. Our final thing we want to really talk about is just ideas. So one thing that we did for our honeymoon is we went to an art museum. Something that me and Quentin are very involved in as well. Not to get into that portion per se, but just saying we are people who love art and just the beauty of expression. So that was one budget friendly idea we had. What's something else you can recall? It ain't been that long, but can you
remember? We did the park.
Yes.
So we did Pulling Park.
That was so nice.
Okay, so what happened?
It was a nice workout.
What happened at Pulling Park? So if you follow either one of us on Instagram, you might can find us, and you may be able to catch that snippet of a video. It was eventful and funny, but we actually did something we never did before, which is the
bike, the paddle boat.
It was so we had, I don't know. Okay, so let me break it down. We all know sometimes we look at TV and we get this grand idea that it's just so romantic and it just looks so beautiful. And it was everything in a bag of chips until we had to paddle. And the paddle was not as easy as we thought. And we had an idea of going all around the little lake and we did a U-turn, went down, did a U-turn, came back, hollered at some ducks and came on in.
Yeah.
And docked.
So the moral of the story is when you go to Pulling Park and you want to do the paddle boat, wear you some nice shorts or long pants.
Be athletic, yeah.
Be athletic, yes. Rock your athletic gear, girl, because Bree was in a romper.
And we were sweating a little bit. And there was no sun out hardly, but we still was sweating. So pick and choose your time frame. Yeah. So either
rain that day.
Yep. So either early in the morning or late in the evening.
We just wanted to give you all a synopsis of like honeymoon tips, what we did, how we can be better.
So the things to consider when making that honeymoon selection, and we want to really kind of leave with this, is do something you both like. And my example is, if you are both into history, then or even if, so for example, I'm a history person, I'm a history head. Overall history and definitely black history.
Yeah.
Brianna on the other hand, she 50-50. So why I'm saying this is because sometimes one of you may be 100% in, and one of you may be the straggler 50.
Here you go.
But it can still be eventful because that 50 can kind of connect with you, and kind of learn, like, why do you think the way you do? What's your logic behind the madness seem like? So it'll begin to make more sense. Like, you'll learn how to connect with your partner once you kind of see what do you like? What stimulates your mind and your thinking?
Yeah.
And it just helps to begin to evolve and grow.
Your relationship, which is the importance of having a honeymoon. I think that, I mean, you're always going to have that one-on-one time in your household, but to have a selected time frame, whether it's right after your wedding or a couple of months down the road, to have that secluded, focused, selected time frame just for you and your spouse is awesome, because, like he said, it gives you that opportunity to grow in those semi weak points, and to also evolve in your thinking and be to literally become one is what the honeymoon does. It gives you that private time to talk, reflect, and experience things that will help your marriage and just you all grow together.
Yeah. There was one more thing, but I can't remember what it is. It'll come back to me on another podcast later, but
Talk. I hope that you all have enjoyed this episode of Honeymoon Tips with Brianna Baker and
me, Quentin Baker.
Yep. And so this is our podcast, Resilient
Zillion
Love.
love.
We'll talk to y'all later. Comment below any feedback on what you did for your honeymoon. If we said anything that was encouraging, enlightening, or just helped you kind of enjoy the rest of your day, give you something to listen to. So let us know. We love to hear from you. And give us ideas for future topics. We're excited to expand our podcast. And so catch us next week, because we're going to be talking about how dollars make sense. And I'm not talking about change. Listen, talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening to our podcast, Resilient Love.